Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Zenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
In this episode, Zen and I uncover the simple way to make $100K a year as a health biz owner. And I'm telling you now, it is not with a low ticket offer. If pricing your service is something that you've struggled with, this episode is an absolute must for you. We deep dive into self-belief shifting in the pursuit of providing the very best value and service your clients could ever ask for. If you're an exercise professional or a health biz owner, this podcast episode is just a snippet of the topics we cover in our webinar, The 7 Strategies to 6X Your Business, which you can download for free by clicking the link in the show notes. Hey, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been good. I've been good. What about you?
I have been fantastic. I really enjoyed my week. I've learned lots of new things. It's been great. Had some really awesome conversations with some people, which has been very cup-filling.
We've actually had some pretty tough conversations with each other, but also like with the team in terms of like, what do you actually want in life? Which I think is like equally very hard because people are like, oh, like no one asks me those questions, but also like really cool to allow someone to feel safe in their role in our team and like, hey, like if you want to grow in this direction, we have the possibility for that, but we don't want you to be yes man, no man. We want you to be, what do you want to do? Like bring you to the table, and that's a cool fucking feeling.
Agreed. I've been on both the side with you on that conversation and the side on the other side of you in that conversation. And yeah, it's equally nerve-wracking as it is exciting, and the nerve-wracking comes from it being something that is not spoken about a lot between everyone these days, which is just new, but it's absolutely a must, and I'm super glad we do it.
And it's, I think, you know, how we find our people and keep good people is to learn who they are and what their motivations are, but not what I wanted to necessarily talk to for the whole episode today, but I thought that was cool as to like what we've done this week. I wanted to chat to you, Claire, about price and high ticket versus low ticket and the self-belief shifts around increasing prices. But before we jumped in, I had a couple of video and audio clips that I wanted to share from a couple of our business mentees. So we're going to chuck that on.
Yeah, let's hear it.
That started at the $94. And then when you told me to put the price up, 2 inquiries, they went straight to 108.
One new person who's in and already started training. I've got 2 new people that are starting in the next 2 weeks at the new price.
So context for that is that they were in our 12-week mini biz, which is a intensive offer creation program where we get you to $2,500 in your first 12 weeks of cash collected through the systems that we create as an absolute minimum. Most people, I think, got about double that. And as you heard then, that was literally, I think we were like week 2 or 3 into the program, and they both upped their prices and more people and inquiries were coming in and lead generation. So I guess it sounds all good in theory, and, you know, we can have people who are doing it, but I'd love to share sort of, I guess, a little bit more of the tactics behind that and why we've chosen to ask people to up their prices and look at high ticket instead of low ticket offers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a perfect topic to touch on. I think a lot of people struggle with potentially it being a self-belief thing, but them not realizing it when they're trying to attach a figure number to their service or their product. So this is going to be a good one. We'll let us in.
So why don't we start with high versus low ticket, who is it for, who's it not for? Because, you know, we might be thinking, okay, it's easy to get people to purchase something for $19 or whatever, and I can, you know, if 100 people got it. However, that's a huge fucking if. And we always recommend people start with a high ticket offer first, especially if you're trying to reach your first 100K in your business, because it's so much easier to get like 20 people in at $120 a week than it is to get like 100 people in at $20 a week.
Absolutely. Especially if you don't have a brand to support it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like, you don't have to have this huge Instagram following, or you don't have to. You can walk up to someone at the gym and be like, hey, and you can make this happen. And it's actually significantly easier to get people bought in at high ticket than it is and consistently stay on and provide value for them than it is to do a lower ticket offer. So I
think that's worth touching on, though. I understand that concept, to have people bought in at a high ticket offer, but I think there might be a few people that would potentially initially, when hearing that, think, oh, what do you mean? And I think that probably has something to do with the concept. So do you want to delve in a little bit there when you say it's easier to get someone bought in at a high ticket offer than it is if you have a smaller ticket offer? Because my instant reaction in my past life would have been, what do you mean? Cheaper is usually easier to get someone to, you know, invest in or to get to do something.
Yeah. So I think what we as small business owners and people who don't have millions of followers, what we have the ability to do is to create a fuck ton of quality. And what people with millions of followers have the capacity to do at scale is create a lot of quantity. And so our leverage point as a small business owner, as a sole trader, as, you know, a few staff, is that we can provide a fuck ton of quality or individualization and add more value per person, rather than creating one thing and hoping that 50, 100, 200 people are going to purchase that. Because generally what most people tell me their biggest problem is leads. But when you get the person in front of you, a lot of them say, yeah, like, you know, a lot of people will sign up and they are interested. And so if leads is the problem, low ticket is the opposite of what you want to do. If you have a fuck ton of leads and they're pretty qualified and they really do want to work with you, then maybe you can do a low ticket offer. But creating this like hands-off program that's a DIY 8-week, you know, strength building program, it's like they can Google that shit. They want the accountability and they want the individualization of like, yeah, but when my left hip moves here, it feels a bit weird. And like, I can't get past the sticking point in my squat. Like, they need that personalization. And there's absolutely a room for people to serve people who just want that program. However, I do not believe it is the sole trader who's trying to make an income out of this full time, because they don't have the scalability of these large companies and they're never going to be able to compete. Like, I can't go and compete with Good Life and be like, oh, well, our gym membership is $12 a week. You know, like, it's just financially, it's just not going to work. And I would need so many people, and at scale it can, but our leverage point is the quality. And so that's what I lean into with high ticket.
Yeah,
I'd probably say the other thing that when I say easy, like, it's actually probably a more difficult conversation up front. Absolutely. But you're going to have the conversation anyway. People who want to buy a $30 product from you that's a recurring, you know, membership or whatever, still probably want to have a conversation. So why not turn that into $130 a week and have a really in-depth conversation? Yes, it's going to mean that you need to work on your communication skills. Yes, it's going to mean that you're going to have to get uncomfortable, ask them why, like really dive into learning about them, and maybe work on your sales skills and your ability to, you know, build emotional connections and create a vision and paint their future for them. However, once you have them, it's so much easier to keep them.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That is very clear. Low ticket, not great unless you have the masses. High ticket, much better if you have a small and more valuable or able to provide value to your clients.
And we have the time, right? Like people if people who say I don't have time and money, it's like, okay, what else are you doing with one of those things? It's not lining up. Like if this is your full-time thing and you're like, oh, I want this hands-off product where I really don't have to do a whole lot, it's low effort, and I'm going to get 50 people in. Unless you have people banging on your door already and you're like, I can't service anyone else, that's when you should go for a lower ticket or a more scalable offer. And it took me so long to offer anything at scale. It was like 6 years before I offered anything that wasn't like a one-on-one coaching session, because I wanted to make sure there was a wait list and we had capacity and we could actually grow and scale that and also get testimonials, get reviews, make sure it's working. Because if you start with a group, then a lot of things could go wrong. You're not getting this personalized feedback. You don't have as much touch points. There's just so many benefits to starting high ticket, and then being able to either ascend or descend people in your pipeline.
That's so clear and such good value in terms of advice. I think a lot of people probably don't think about it like that. It's a really good opinion and perspective. So you figure out that you need a high ticket. How do you work out what a high ticket is, or how do we make high ticket work for us in our business?
So I did this post on Instagram a little while ago now, but I thought it would be helpful for some perspective on what it could mean for people, in terms of most people are looking initially to achieve $100,000 in their business. We get people from 0 to 100K in their first 12 months. That's not a gimmicky sales thing that I say, but genuinely what we've done over and over again with the people who show up and put in the work in our Grow program. And then we ascend people from that to multi-six figures. And what I wrote was, working 48 weeks a year because you and your clients want a holiday and you deserve it. Because we also understand that people aren't probably going to pay us in 52 weeks. They have life. You need to have Christmas. You only need 21 people paying you $100 a week to achieve $100,000 in 12 months. 21 people, $100. That is not a lot. If you're really servicing those people well, that's actually not that bad. But if you went, I don't want to charge $100 or I'm not comfortable there yet, you're going to need 50 people paying you $42 a week to achieve $100,000. And I'd prefer to deal with 21 people who are really fucking committed, because people who pay attention, like I've said before. And if you get incredible results and value, people also value it more. They're going to put in more effort for the program. They're more bought in. Or you get 105 people paying you $20 a week.
I don't know who has room for 105 people to service, but that does not seem like the option I'd ever want to choose.
And the churn as well, like the higher the ticket, the lower the churn typically. So churn being like how many people end up leaving you at like a per month or whatever.
Yeah, regular interval for sure.
If you're paying $20 for something, there's more likelihood that you're like, peace, see ya, I'm out. I just don't want it, can't afford it. But if you have a personal relationship with someone, which you probably do if you're charging $100 an hour or per week or whatever it is, with all of the systems you have in place, then, it's a lot easier for you to build great relationships and add value. And fuck me, I don't want to be working with 105 people and trying to like navigate that. I'd prefer to have 21 who are fucking solid, and I can I know their families, and I have great relationships with them. So 21 people at $100 a week, when you actually break it down, is like so fucking achievable. And you add dollars to that, and it's, you could do 15 people at, I don't know what it would work out to be, like 130 or something like that. Like it's really not as out of reach as we think. Yes, there's some work in terms of lead gen, in terms of, keeping people and retention and whatnot. But if we only have a small group of people who we are providing a high quality service for, then how much more can we provide for them if we only have 21 versus 50 or 100 people?
Absolutely. It also probably leads into, if you're speaking about lead gen, those who are going to inquire that know it's a slightly high ticketed offer, they're probably going to be slightly more, qualified leads, as opposed to those who it's like $20. Like, oh, I'm kind of interested, kind of not, don't really mind, kind of on the fence. Probably more leads, but doesn't actually look like more qualified leads as you come in. So yeah, high ticket offer certainly has a lot more benefits, or a lot more pros as it does cons. Just maybe confidence is what people need in order to do it.
And that's a whole nother can of worms. But maybe let's talk about charging money for time, or, you know, increasing the price of your services and what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay. Any questions on that?
If we're talking about increasing your time and those people who currently have the service.
You mean increasing your price?
Yeah, sorry, increasing your price, not increasing your time. The first thing that comes to mind from my previous experience, and for some people that I know that I've spoken to, is potentially like, oh, I'm a bit afraid to charge more because the current customers or clients that I have are paying this and it seems good. And what if I rock the boat if I increase my prices? It all sounds well and good to be like, oh yeah, $100 if I have 21 clients, that's $100K a year. I'd love that. And then I have all of these fears or feelings. What do you say to the coach that potentially is in that scenario or that situation and is a bit afraid to potentially up their prices?
I think to add on to that, typically what we hear is like, oh, well, the last 3 people who cancelled said it was because of price or they couldn't continue. And so it feels like this perpetuating thing, right? But maybe it's a challenge with their market. Like if you're trying to provide a high quality service to a low ticket, typically avatar, then there's a mismatch there, right? Like you wouldn't charge $20 an hour to coach an executive CEO for an hour in, his office suite and also prepare his, his habits or his routine or his meal prep or whatever. You wouldn't do that because he would be like, why the fuck are you charging me so little? Like that doesn't make sense. But also you wouldn't charge someone who is in excruciating pain, who has seen 10 other professionals and nothing's ever worked, a low ticket, because they're going to look at that. And they're like, I like to use the comparison of if you were in severe pain and you were going to go see the physio and you were like, this has been at me for so long, no one's been able to fix it, I'm frustrated. And the higher the pain level or whatnot, the higher someone's willing to pay for that because they're in a level of discomfort. So therefore,
the motivation's higher.
Yeah, motivation is higher. And those are the people that it's easier to work with versus the person who's like, oh, I could do a strength program or I could not. Like there's no motivation there to do it. They're like testing the waters. They're not like, I need this. And we want to find people who need or feel they need what we have, not just kind of want it. So I like the idea of, imagine you walk into a physio clinic and you see 2 physios on the wall and all you see is no faces, no names or anything. It's like physio A is $75 and physio B is $160 for the session. If you're in a fuck ton of pain and you're like, no one else has been able to solve this, which do you automatically think is the better physio?
Absolutely, the most expensive one, because your gut instinct is if it's more expensive, it must work.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we go, oh, I'm going to try and compete with price and who else? What are the other PTs charge? And maybe I'll charge $5 less or $5 more. But like, that's not setting you apart at all. Like be way fucking more or be like, be different. So absolutely. And then the follow-up to this that I've talked to my mentees about is what if that was the same person?
Yeah, which really because if it was, it's basically your comparison in your head thinking, oh, should I charge more or charge less? That is the exact example, right?
And
That
some
is.
people might think like, well, how can I, or how could a physio charge 160 versus 75? Well, let me tell you how.
Please do.
A $75 physio is probably doing a treatment session for 45 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. They're probably also, so I've done the math on this. We've worked out if, say, they're working for someone else or what, for whatever reason, they to work full time, which is 38 hours, and to make 3,800 roughly from this, they need 51 clients. Just work with me with the numbers. You don't need to make almost $4,000 a week, but let's say this person, that was their metric, with overheads and whatever taken into account. So they need 51 clients at $75 each to equate to $3,800. That's 38 hours of their time. And that's not including writing notes. That's not including checking in with their client outside of the session. That's not including any upskilling, development, any ability to provide them with, additional resources. It's literally just, I see you for 45 minutes, then fuck off. I'll talk to you if you rebook. So those people are probably overworked, burnt out, and under-delivering. And if that sounds like you, if you're listening to this, you're like, oh, fuck, I feel like that.
Seen.
Then thinking about transitioning to the other physio or health coach, whoever you are, at $160 for what you're doing could be a fucking awesome option for you. And I know it sounds super out of reach, but hear me out. This person, the other physio at 160, to make the exact same dollars, only needs 24 clients, which is very similar to what we spoke about before, the 21, but you're actually charging more this time. So you still do the same time physically with them in the treatment session, but you also go, hey, I've actually realized that I've decreased half my face-to-face hours. I've only got 18 hours a week where I'm face-to-face with clients, which means I can write them an exercise program. I can also follow up with them and their allied health professional team or their GP, or, call their fucking partner and be like, hey, like, how's she going? Is there anything you need support? Whatever it is. You could also go for $160. I don't need all that money, but maybe I could give my client complimentary heat cream because they need some heat on their low back every day and their partner needs to apply it, whatever. Maybe they need a TheraBand and a trigger ball. Maybe they could use your recovery facility, or you could pay for their gym membership. But how much better is the service? Is the quality? Is you've got more touch points? You can follow up with them. You're not stressed, and you can therefore get better results with those people because you've done all of those things.
For sure. And as a client, that will just reiterate the concept of the more expensive person is a better experience for me.
And
100%.
It means you can, right? Like, we're not here saying like, oh, just do the same thing 45 minutes, put your feet up, and then expect people are still going to pay it. Like, you still have to put in the effort, but you don't have to put in the time. It doesn't have to be additional time. It can be things like we talk to our staff all the time. It's like, hey, maybe this person actually needs habit tracking. Could we create, a calendar that we get them to print out and it tracks their habits on there and they tick off every day. Did they have a liter of water and do their gym session? And it's like, that takes you no additional time because you created it once and then it's a very scalable product. But the amount of value that adds is disproportionate to the time that it took you once. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it's something we don't think about because we think service, this is what I can do in my lane. Like, I'm a health coach or whatever, or like I only have nutrition skills or I only have exercise skills or whatever. It's like, yeah, but like, could you pay a dietitian to write a healthy fucking meal guide that you pay them $200 one time and then you use it for the rest of your life? It doesn't have to be anything related to you, but start with simple things. I think maybe a take home for today would be, if we're going to stop charging time for money and look at creating a service, not a fee for, if you're the person who says I'm $75 for 45 minutes, then we're speaking to you, because you're not. Because you also have your qualifications, how long it took you to do that, how long it takes you to write the program, the follow-ups. You're doing all these things anyway. So highlight it, add a fuck ton more value that doesn't take you a lot of time, and go from there. So the time-based things that we could use would be things like that habit tracker. It could be, you know, a nutrition guide. It could be maybe, I don't know, you decide that you're really into breath work and you've actually done like an audio of like 30 minutes of breath work. You can add that in. It costs you nothing, right? There's so many different things that we can add in, like a trigger band and a booty ball probably costs you $10 from eBay. Like it's really, but the value of someone having it physically right there in front of them, and they don't have to go anywhere, and then they don't forget their home program because they're 2 weeks behind because they didn't get a chance to get to Rebel Sport. Like people value saving time, and they value all of the things you can do so that you stop treating yourself as all I do is X.
Yeah. And that probably starts with an internal shift of self-belief, I'd say, to begin with, but it is followed very quickly by you being able to confirm that with your clients once you do make that shift and see the results.
And understand that, yes, you might be an exercise professional, but you still have a ability to create habits in someone's life that is meaningful change. And if we're continuing to say, if someone asks you how much you are per hour and you continue to give them an answer and not say, well, hang on a second. Yes, you get to see me for an hour once a week, but we also have in the program, the app, the programming, the check-in, the this, the that. It's a service for the entire week, month, whatever that you're providing, not you see me for 45 minutes, then fuck off. And if you want to be that person, understand you probably can't charge as much. But it's so much easier to charge more without having to exponentially increase our time.
Absolutely. Perfectly said. Well done.
So take homes, or like,
yeah, let's do some take homes. Something tangible or easy that someone can jump into, and potentially if they're looking at their maybe price points or their services at the moment, what are some things that they could potentially look at changing straight away?
I love this, and there's going to be a lot of people who won't do it. So the reason I say that is because I like people who take action. If you do this, send me like a DM, send me a screenshot, send me a message and tell me you've done it, because I fucking love action takers. Increase your price by $10.
Simple but perfect strategy. So we're saying increase your oh my goodness, worse. Increase your price as in per hour or for your service of the time that you're with someone.
Well, yeah, not per hour, because you're not per hour anymore.
Exactly.
You're now a service. And if you feel uncomfortable doing that, or you feel like you're not able to, get the results with that, A, that's good. That means growth. But B, think about what other value you can add that doesn't include you spending more time with every single client. Yes, you might spend a couple of hours creating a couple of one-off things that add more value, but it's something that with inflation, everything's going up. You need to be able to still look after you too. You need to go up in price as well. And that is going to be something that if you haven't done it in the last 12 months or even 6, definitely something to look into. Increase your price by $10, and then talk about like add value. If you feel like it doesn't match right now, what you're asking for it doesn't match the value. If you increase that price, then add something else that's scalable.
Perfect advice. All right, maybe we'll leave it there with that take home.
Beautiful. Love it. Until next time.
Bye.
Did you find something valuable in this episode? If so, I'd like to ask a tiny favor. If you have 30 seconds now, I'd love you to follow or share the podcast. That way, we can continue to bring you more real, raw, and uncensored stories from industry leaders. We also love hearing from you and what you loved about every episode. The best way to reach out is to DM me personally on Instagram @SwiftCoachesAcademy. Until next time, and in whatever you do, move swiftly. Before you go, don't forget those 2 anatomy masterclasses are coming up. The first one's on the 15th of June, the anatomy of the shoulder. Second one is the 5th of July, anatomy of the hip. I cannot wait to see you there. Link in the show notes for all of the information for you to register, and I will see you there.